All right. Thanks everybody for joining the Prosperous Sellers podcast. I'm your host, Steve Yates. I'm the CEO of Prime Guidance, and we've got special guest Vanessa Hung with Online Seller Solutions. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the invite.
Yeah, of course. It's so great to have you. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and they have a better understanding of the context that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so I have a few roles that I serve as the founder and CEO of my agency, Online Seller Solutions, also community engagement director at Carvin 6, and I guess an educator in the space. And that's probably the overarching, role that I have.
Mhm.
And a lot of what I do right now is creating content to, well, not only serve my clients in the agency, but with all of the learnings, you sit down at the end of the day and you're like, okay, what's new, what's changing, and how can I break these things down so people that are on the other side are also able to, apply our learnings or our findings, or find a better way to do something. So I'm super focused on operational efficiency in the back end. So backend means everything that happens in Seller Central, that creates a headache. So it's all of the
Mhm.
unsexy stuff, right? Like the things that are not PPC, not creative, not branding, but if it goes down, it breaks your account, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like listing goes down, an account health, or things like that.
Yeah, and that's I remember when you first kind of got in the limelight in the industry. It was related to the back end expertise that you brought to the table. And I think that it's really great to have such a level of expertise in an area that most people don't focus on. It's not sexy. It's not what everyone's talking about, but it's such a critical aspect to being successful. I
Yeah.
know when Prime Guidance, when we help clients list their items. We stress the importance of being very thorough and filling in all of the different attributes, whether it's required, optional, or recommended, and so forth. And I think that there's just a lot of things that are overlooked or done improperly, and it's an area that you really thrive in. So why don't you tell the audience some of the examples, maybe, of things that a lot of sellers just don't nail out of the park well, and they need to really focus on.
Yeah. Mm, I think mainly is sellers, like the regular seller that is not really focusing on the operational backend, will think that the only part to put information on their listing is what they see in the pro detail page, right? Like the
Yeah.
title, bullet points, description, some technical details, but very little. That's
Mhm.
one of the biggest misconceptions, I guess. And with the years, the more that we have advanced as an industry, we're getting more professionalized, getting more serious about selling on Amazon. It's not kind of like the side hustle anymore for a lot of people. We now understand, okay, these are our systems, and now we are able to use all of the things that Amazon allows in the backend with visual assets, with the brand registry programs. So seeing that as a holistic type of flywheel that will keep feeding itself, especially with AI right now, because every single piece that you have that impacts your listing, whether it is your title, whether it is a field in the backend of a flat file, or an Amazon post, that is
Mhm.
information that you're giving the system. And the system is processing that information to give answers to customers through Rufus, for example,
Yeah.
and at the same time building a database of a massive catalog, right? And
Mhm.
I think that part is important. I
Yeah.
think we need to understand that at the end of the day, yeah, Amazon is a marketplace, Amazon is a technology company, but one of the biggest currencies in right now, I'll say right now and will be in the future, is data, right? The more you know about something, the more valuable you will become. So that is one part that sometimes people get it wrong because they think like, oh yeah, Amazon is just a marketplace, just put the listings there, I created this, and let's just list it and that's it. When in reality, yeah, you could do that. You will, I think at this point, unless you're in a niche that doesn't have any like sophisticated competitors, you will fail at it. um but then the people that succeed are the one that can see all of the different pieces moving at the same time and say, I'm gonna conquer every single aspect of it. On a catalog level, and that is the part where I like the most.
Mm.
I honestly think Amazon, like in Seller Central, is a very holistic system. You cannot touch one thing without impacting the other one. But
Mhm.
catalog, it is the foundation, in my opinion. It is the first thing. You cannot have you cannot have inventory in FBA if you don't have a listing in the catalog. You won't have complaints or restrictions in account health unless you have a listing that is, non-compliant. You won't be able to advertise unless you have a listing. So listing is everything. And
Yep.
with that, one of the fundamental um, concepts that I guess I share all the time, and I think it's very relevant and valuable for people to understand this, is the concept of the original SKU. So when I talk about this, most people are like, "Oh wow, this is amazing! I didn't know." So I want to always to share that, because when you list a product on Amazon, let's say the first time you put that UPC with that content, with that title, and you name it new product launch 123 FBA, right? That's your SKU name.
Mhm.
That information that is there, that SKU created an ASIN, right?
Sure.
That ASIN is attached to that SKU. And you can think about the SKU as the holding base to have all of the information that you can add, the backend attributes, the images, the title, the description. The moment that you remove or delete that SKU from your inventory, from your managed inventory, and you decide to create something more better, right? Because I don't know, your 3PL requires you to have a specific convention for your SKUs, or you decided like, oh, I don't know who did this, this is not great, I want to name it something different, and you delete the original. That link between the content and the async breaks. And what happens then is not that you're not going to see the title on your detail page, you're not going to see the bullet points. The thing is that Amazon takes over with the content,
Yep.
because as
Now it's
as the
shared.
original, what?
Now it's basically shared content where you don't have that content authority anymore, right?
Exactly. So it's share. I mean, you could say share when there are other players, maybe when there are other people like in the buy box and they
Sure,
have
sure.
listed the product. But here it's more Amazon taking ownership of your information. So
Sure.
they will be quote unquote the owner of the title, the owner of the bullet point one, bullet point two. So next
Mhm.
time that you go to your catalog and you decide that you want to add or delete specific information, you won't be able to do that. And that is the biggest issue that I help sellers with what we call matching errors, meaning you
Yeah.
try to change something and Amazon is not matching that in the product detail page. So there is something in the middle. And normally, very like, I'll say, I don't know, maybe 60% of the time, it has to do with they don't know which one is the original SKU. Most of the times they have a few, or they have deleted the original, and then that's when Amazon took over, and that's when things get complex. So just as a level of, let's just go back one square, or like to square one really, and
Mhm.
say, think about when you list a new product, think about that SKU being the original SKU, being an untouchable entity within your account. It's like your asset. If you lose it, it's not that the business will break completely, but the moment that you want to make a change, it'll be more difficult, and that will potentially make you lose money. Or maybe let's say that a specific keyword on your listing is restricted now, and then to remove it, you will spend way more time trying to fix it than if you would have the ability to change your content. So that's one of the things that I like to talk about,
Mhm.
because a, a lot of people are misunderstand the power of the original SKU, and also they misunderstand the issue that is, or when they have that issue, they don't understand what causes that issue. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I talk about this.
We agree. At Prime Guidance, we see a lot of crazy catalog issues that need resolving, and a lot of times it's not easy. But a lot of times, when you start diving into it, it's exactly what you mentioned. It's either, you broke it apart, used a different SKU or something, or another seller did, that maybe was the originator of that ASIN, for example, and Amazon's still giving that other seller, an override essentially against your inputs. And sometimes you need to like figure out, how do I match that exactly? How do I pull in a
Mhm.
variation that matches exactly the way it's configured from the original seller, the person that originally listed it, and then you have more flexibility to start breaking it apart and reconfiguring it the way you want, because that control is basically shifted over to your seller account.
Yeah.
Especially if there was no brand registry before and now there is. A lot of times that content authority doesn't always flow properly, right?
Yeah. Or when there was a vendor that is transitioning to a 3P account, like a seller, that
Mm,
is where that's one of the most painful, because
yeah.
the SKU and the ASIN was originated in retail in the
Mm,
1P side, and that, but yeah, it's all of the same issue. And I think if people were to understand this concept, they'll probably stop making that mistake and potentially reducing the catalog issues by a lot, right? There are some people that never have issues, and that's amazing, but most times than not, I found that the people that don't have issues almost never change any content in their listing. They keep using the content that they put in 2019,
mm.
and I'm like, wow, that's not a great practice.
That's right. Yeah, it is not. Amazon is not a set it and forget it strategy. It needs to be ever evolving, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned, vendor central to seller central. I 100% agree with you. That is such a challenging part. And Amazon oftentimes, they won't release that content if they feel like they have a relationship with the brand, they still have inventory, something like that. Once they no longer have an established relationship or inventory, a lot of times they'll release the content control to the brand through brand registry. And even now, that's not as hard as it used to be, I would say. Would you agree that sometimes brand registry is still kind of giving the content authority, even if there was a vendor relationship, more than there used
uh
to be?
so I haven't seen that. Honestly, my experience has been that if the ASIN was created in vendor central,
Mm,
and so the cases that I worked with are brands that were the vendor, right? And
mhm,
they were closed, meaning Amazon said, like, we're not gonna buy from you anymore, and they had to transition to Seller Central. And in that transition, it's right, like Amazon doesn't release things, like, because they were the brand, they keep, like, the brand registry login and credentials are exactly the same.
exactly,
it's,
same, yeah,
it's now that they are connected
mhm,
to the Seller Central account, and it is not as easy. It is possible, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of cases, a lot of, like, persistence. And
mm,
one thing that I say to any vendor that is in that transition, try to, so there is an option, obviously, when Amazon closes the relationship, you just don't see the POs coming in, you don't see the inventory, but the vendor account itself is not closed.
yeah,
There is an option to close it if you decide to. And what I advise people to do while they're transitioning is that never close that account, because at some point you will need to pull either a flat file from there, or you might need to push content changes, which are harder than ever, because when they close the relationship and they say like, we're not buying from you anymore, and you're trying to make changes, not always, but a lot of the times they will come to you and say, you don't have like an account active, you cannot make changes. So it's like a catch 22, because you cannot make changes in Seller Central, you cannot make changes in Vendor Central. So that means that the content will be there forever. That is the part where it's like, okay, tricky. One tip for people, besides the transitioning, not selling, not closing the account, and obviously registering both in brand registry, is to migrate also the SKUs. So you're gonna use the same SKUs that you use for a vendor, you will use them for the 3P side, and that helps. It's funny, but that helps in the back end of Amazon. That is the kind of the root of an ASIN, and you transition the original SKU to that account. Will that fix all of the problems? No, but it's definitely helpful.
Interesting. You'd think that that would be completely irrelevant, because any seller can create any SKU for any ASIN, and that's their own unique contribution. But ultimately, Amazon controls the content that flows through the ASIN. So you'd think that they would almost like not even look at a SKU on a seller account to see if it matches a SKU on a vendor account. But you know, everyone's hearing it from the expert here on some tricks to make that transition more seamless. So that's pretty cool tidbit right there. I know you mentioned about being complete with the back end. I think that a lot of times people, they don't realize just how big of an impact it is. So let's kind of like think about a couple different aspects. One is findability. If I were to search and I don't have certain fields filled in with keywords that match, now all of a sudden I can't be found on general search queries like men's shoes white or something like that. And then you also have the filters and refinements. So now I search for shoes, and then I go to men's, and then I go to show me just the size 10 white sneakers or something. If I don't have all those attributes filled out, all of a sudden my catalog is not, my item's not showing up in that search result query, and I'm just out of the picture. And now it's even more, impactful, because people may ask Rufus what sneakers are great for tennis, or something that have this feature, that have like strong arch support or something. If you're not filling in all of this information to kind of like spell it out, Rufus is going to have a hard time pointing people to you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that is the part where the system will keep getting more and more complex. So if at one point we thought that the backend and filling out a flat file, it's like super complex and super hard, like answering all of the questions to AI, it's now the hard like quest, and then filling out the back end, it's pretty much a requirement. Like, and that is the part that I like, and seeing a lot of the work that I've done in the industry on putting out content and education, is to see how, if you compare, I don't know, 2018 to now, a lot of more sellers know what a flat file is. So that's cool. Like, that's important. So right now that you understand what it is, it's like, oh no, that's a little optional thing. Not anymore. It's almost a requirement. And one of the things is that the AI uses the backend attributes as guiding principles to answer questions. It's not only the content that you have on the front end, which it helps immensely, but also those things, because sometimes if those attributes are not aligned, if you, for example, say in your listing that your shoe is for men, but then in the back end you said that your target audience is women or unisex, then that is a conflict. And that is a piece where Rufus wouldn't know what to, if you're looking for men's shoes for tennis, then probably that one won't show up, even though the information is there. So those are the things where you start aligning. Like, the backend serves you as um, not only a mirror but also a cleaner view of what are the specific technical details or specific details of your product, right? Things
Hmm.
like what is the use, what is the audience, what is the season, what is the target, what is the form, like product let's say components, specific uses, things like that. So that helps a lot. So
Hmm.
yeah, I like it. I mean, that's where I spend a lot of the time right now. I It's been awkward in the past, I'll say, year maybe. I mean, in some accounts you could even say a year, but the majority, I'll say, maybe 6 months, where flat files are kind of weird, meaning sometimes they are coming back with crazy errors, sometimes they go through, sometimes they come with errors but they go through. So that is one of the pieces that I believe it's gonna come with a big change. And Amazon already said, I don't know if you saw that or have experienced that in any of your accounts, where you're like, you just upload the content in whatever file, whatever format you want, and the AI will build the template for you, which
Hmm.
is, for a lot of people that hate Excel and are intimidated by a sheet, everybody's like, or those people will be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I am a little bit concerned of the implications of that in the, not only in the front end but also how it reads the information that is already there. So I've been seeing a lot of change, and right now there is no specific answer or no specific policy that they come out saying like, oh yeah, we changed this and this is how you do it now. It's like hit or miss depending on the account, and especially if you're using the AI feature, which is very interesting.
Yeah, definitely new, and just like in typical fashion, they tend to roll it out selectively. Not every account gets certain new features right away, and always be skeptical when those things happen because they're not always flawless, right? And I think
Yeah.
that um, the other aspect that we need to make sure everyone knows is that if you fail to put in an attribute, that your competitor, like, there's some black hat
Oh yeah.
that could fill in information like this is an adult product and now your product can't be found via you can't advertise it, for example, or it may not be findable in normal search results or something. Those are, pretty scary things that another seller could basically add your ASIN to their seller account and then contribute an attribute that you never filled out to begin with because you thought, oh, it's probably not relevant, not important, and now they're using it against you. So if you lock that content down and you're the brand owner, now you've got a content authority, and everyone else should have a lower content authority than the brand owner. That's much safer. If it's an empty field, basically everyone could be a contributor, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
If all of the sellers are at the same level of contribution, and that depends whether you have or not brand registry for certain things, then yeah, you could contribute and you could mess up, yeah, other people's listings.
Mhm.
That's totally a um, mean practice from like nasty competitors, and you see that a
Mhm.
lot for the, I don't know, big, like number one, number two bestsellers in categories.
Yeah.
Yeah, they suffer a lot from those things. So the recommendation there is, after you fill out um, the flat file, and this is one of the things that AI made it tricky for the file, because in the past I'll say, well, hey guys, you filled out everything that you have available, fill it out, even if the content is not necessarily that relevant. So let's say that you're selling a like a grocery item, and it's asking you for what's the,
Season.
I don't know, well, this season is kind of relevant. I'll
Mhm.
say, I don't know, what breed like a dog breed or something, that's completely irrelevant, right? But if if the attribute was there, which this is completely nuts, like I'm saying something that is completely ridiculous, that doesn't happen. But if an attribute was not extremely relevant, I'll say, well, hey guys, put information there regardless. Sometimes at the very beginning of my career, I say like put NA, like non-applicable, and then you close like that attribute. And at one point I realized that I was able to get ranking power by putting keywords in attributes that were not necessarily relevant or even showing up in the pro detail page, but they were ranking my listing, which was very interesting. So I said like, okay, instead of an A, I'm not going to waste that space. I'm going to add a keyword.
Yeah.
Right now, that is not what you should do. Why? Because you will definitely confuse the AI if you ever get to put something like that, right? Like if I
Yeah.
say, if I say in the dog breed, I say hot sauce, that's like that, like error 404, like we don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you need to be very careful.
Mhm.
um and that is the reason, Steve, that I believe that's the reason why Amazon is adding AI to the flat files, just because there are very specific things they want to know, and everything else that is allowed. Because once you see a flat file for a category, it's so long. There's so many different things, and
Hundreds
not
of it.
every
Yeah.
single yeah, and not every
Mhm.
single attribute is directly related to your product. So
Mhm.
that is where I think AI is coming in to say, you know what, leave it. Like we're just gonna take it from here. We're just gonna like gather the information that we need, because all of these other things, it's not gonna be relevant, useful, and we don't want that data because it confuses the system. So I think that hacking technique of adding keywords, wrong keywords to your competitors will probably be gone once the whole system rearranges itself with AI. Um, just because that need of open space won't be a thing. So which is great. I think this is phenomenal news. And
Yeah.
I don't know, like bad hackers and black hat sellers will find another way to hack the system. But um, as of right now, I I tell people, fill out what's relevant.
Yeah.
Don't don't try to don't try to put whatever information just because you want to close that thing. It still happens, but I believe it's more rare, especially because brand registry. That's the other thing. If you have brand registry has an amazing program that we don't really talk about it or see it much, just because that's like in the back end. Every time a seller wants to contribute on a listing that they don't sell or they are not related to, Amazon blocks them automatically, right? Like sometimes some things go through, but I want to believe that that system is very good at preventing those things. So we see less than what it used to be back in, not even that much, back 2 years ago. This was
Mhm.
very common. It's like super, super common. Right now, it's rare. It's actually because of the protection that brand registry has. And on top of that, I believe what AI will do to flat files will completely remove that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it today. Like we are talking in May 2025. As of today, that's not a worry that I think people should spend a lot of time thinking about, just because there are other systems in place to prevent that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that you gave an example of a pivot, right? This is what was working at this stage in time. This is what we suggest now because of what we see the future leaning towards. And I think that a lot of times sellers in this space, they they really do too much setting and forgetting and not evolving as algorithms change, as Amazon's policies change. I mean, there's just a lot of things that you need to be on your toes. You need to be listening to podcasts like this and going to shows and reading blogs and you just connecting with true experts that can constantly give you that guidance of how things are evolving, how things are changing, and you should be at this stage of the game. So I love that.
Yeah, I
Um,
totally agree. And you know what? It's a thing that makes this space so exciting. It's like
mhm.
you're never bored. It's like, yeah, there's always something new.
My ADD brain loves this industry. it's
Exactly.
there's always change. There's always challenges to overcome. It's great. Now, one thing a lot of people still today don't always understand is just the importance of a category listing report and how that can save the day in some cases. Do you want to explain to the audience what that is and how they may be able to use that to fix problems that may have broken or something like that?
Sure. Yeah. So a category listing report is a type of flat file, as an Excel spreadsheet that Amazon gives you with all of the information that you have input into your listing. And this part, the last part, is important, that you as a seller have input in the listing, meaning you will see all of the contributions, your title, your bullet points, your descriptions. Sometimes the information that is there might be different for what you see in the pro detail page, and that is when you have a matching error, which is the first thing that we talk about, right? The reason why you want to download this report, if you have never done it, this is, if you take anything out of this conversation, is this: you go to Seller Central, go to your menu, inventory, oh sorry, reports, inventory, and then in that drop down should be category listing report. If not,
Mhm.
you need to open the case with seller support and ask them like, hey, please allow me to download the category listing report. So what that will serve you is as a database of all of your content. So let's say that tomorrow your listing goes down or your listing gets hijacked, title change, bullet points, whatever it is. Now you have the source. Now you have the content that was approved and original and uploaded by you, and you use that as a mechanism to compare whether something happened, or when it happens, then upload the content again and reestablish your contribution. The thing though is that I used to be a fan of the category listing report. Category listing report was my best friend. Like I talk about, there are
Mhm.
many interviews and many videos about me talking about this file. It's not working as well anymore because uploading that file will break more things than what it helps with. So what we're doing right now, which is annoying actually, but I believe it's because of the rearrangement of everything that's happening in the back end with flat files, is that we take the information from the category listing report, right? From those attributes, those columns that say title and description and size and color and keywords and all of that. And we
Mhm.
then migrate it to the category specific report. So a category listing report is your whole catalog. Like every single SKU that you have in your catalog will be there. The category specific template will be the one that is specific to your category. No, it's not even specific to your browse node within your category, right? Um,
Mhm.
so so you work, if you want to get into working with flat files, you work with that one, you work with the category specific, because every time in the last, I'll say 3 months, that I have uploaded a category listing report, it breaks, it doesn't work, it gives me a bunch of errors when in reality there's none. And the problem is, I believe, it's the template itself. So again, I'm talking in May 2025. Will Amazon change that and make the category listing report the 2.0 version as they did with the category specific templates? I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure they will.
Yeah.
So today it's not working. I'm saying go to your category specific. But maybe, I don't know, a year from now, or maybe 3 months, or I don't know, maybe in a week, then we have a new template of the category listing report that works. So I'm just kind of reporting what's happening and why you need it. So today I mainly use it as a database. In the past, I was also using it as a problem solving tool, right? You upload, you see the errors, and you do a bunch of things. If you download your category listing report and if you upload it without making any changes, I guarantee you 100% of the times will come back with errors, and sometimes those errors are inexistent. Like they're they don't they're not errors for some reason. It's weird. So I think it's a
I
system problem.
Yeah, it's definitely buggy. And I've seen it where you upload the category listing report and it tells you there's an error that references a field that's not in the file. And it never put it in the file to begin with. So you'd have to identify that file, that field, and add it manually to that file in order to make it
Mhm.
work in that case. Or
Yeah.
move it over to another file like you suggest. And sometimes the easiest things to do is copy your entire worksheet and paste special text only. And that oftentimes removes a lot of the macros and formatting issues and things like that. And oftentimes that will fix some issues too. But catalog
Yeah.
work is not simple. There's a lot of challenges, unique challenges. And I remember, in the past, like when they added like safety requirements for some product categories where you had to acknowledge something related to safety, or does this have batteries because it may be hazmat or what have you, where they just don't synchronize that primary category template with that category listing report, and hopefully they get over that soon.
Yeah. And the other thing is that they also change the attributes names sometimes.
Yeah,
So let's say in the past it was called unit count and now it's called unit package count, something. I'm just making something up. But that happens. And then the system is like, no, it's broken because you don't have this field. But it's like, I literally have it with a new name. So yeah, you need to do a bunch of things. So that's why right now, that's what I'm saying. Right now, it's awkward
hmm,
working with that one. The category specifics are perfect. If you find a category specific template and it's not working for you, my advice is delete every single column that is not 100% required. Okay, 100% required, or it's not the attribute that you want to change or add. So that will save you a lot of time. And in the past I used to upload every single column in
yeah,
full update. Right now I do full update, but I just delete the ones that are not serving me. That's how you get through a lot of the errors. Like that's
yeah.
the work.
No, I think that's smart. And we talked about the importance of the category listing report, or even better, a master file. Like if you do fill in a full category listing or a category template, having a master file of exactly how you uploaded something to be able to revert back to that is so valuable should an issue arise. I've had people call 10 o'clock on a Friday night or something saying, hey, I've got this problem and my listing variation all broke apart. Re-upload the category listing report or the item template, and it'll automatically add in all of the parent child variations again and fix it. Essentially it's an easy 10-second fix a lot of times. But at least it's a starting point, even if it's not a simple fix because they changed fields or whatever. You've got a much better starting point for those kind of urgent moments, right?
100%. I totally agree. So
Mm.
I'm not trying to say that flat files are not useful, relevant, or important. It's just to say they are at the moment in like a teenager stage. They're awkward.
Mhm.
It's like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it will only get better. I don't know. I'm very optimistic sometimes with what Amazon develops. It's like, yeah, it will be better. It will be better. And I think that for a lot of the things, that's true. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to see what's coming with the AI and the flat file.
Speaking of AI, what are your thoughts on Rufus and how people really tweak their catalog to get the most out of Rufus?
That's an evolving. So I guess right now we have more information than what we used to have before. We know that Rufus is giving personalized answers. We know that it goes very specific questions, but are sometimes like a bucket or a vertical of, let's say, 10 different questions phrased differently, but you can get to a bunch of things. So the knowledge is getting better. And that's where what do you do to stand out matters a lot. And that is understanding your audience really well. So, yeah, you need to understand your keywords, obviously, because at the end of the day, the way you describe something is it's through keywords. Like there's no other way, right? Like when you mention the example of men's white shoes, right? That is a very broad, I guess, keyword or search. But
Mhm.
then when you go very specific, it's like, oh, he wants tennis shoes, and he wants tennis shoes for outdoor court, and then a specific style, because it's this is not for a kid, or it's not for a teenager, but it's for a man. So
Mhm.
all of those little things are accounted for when Rufus is recommending something to the end user, right? If you don't have that information, then you're losing. What was at the very beginning, what was that I was teaching people to do? So you go there, you understand what are the questions that Rufus prompts in your listing. So whether you go to the desktop version or in the app, you will be able to go to your listing and see all of the five, if sometimes it's 3 to 5 questions that Rufus prompts about your listing. And you need to make sure that in your content, you're answering those questions. But then if you're going to go a step further, you're going to do the research of who really is your target audience. So I confident that, I don't know, maybe 80% of the whole industry, all of the Amazon sellers in the world, they don't really understand who their audience is, because they haven't built a business based on audience. They build the business based on the
True.
keywords, right? You look and
Disconnected.
develop brands based. Sorry.
I said they're disconnected. They don't understand who's actually buying their products.
Exactly. So they build brands and build products based on search volume. So right now the game change and will keep changing, and you will keep seeing more and more impact of that, where the the audience that you're targeting is very important. So without doing a lot of research, right? One things that I like, and this is one of the dashboards that it's been in Seller Central for years, and I most of the times I'm like, I don't understand why this is here. I don't get it. But it's the demographics tab in the brand analytics, and also the market basket analysis. Those are the two things that I like to download and start comparing. So again, you download as a report, and you're like, well, this is nice, but I cannot read any of this data. It's so complex. So for that, you will use AI, right? So to digest both things, what you're gonna get after you upload those files, so the demographics and the market basket analysis to AI, you will prompt it with something like, this is the information of my last 12 months, could be quarter, whatever you want to, however you want to download it. But let's say 12 months. 12 months of the demographics of my brand, and the information of how or what are the other products that they're buying together with mines, right? And that is, when you do this work, Steve, the world opens to a point where you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. I didn't know. So I made an example on headphones, like wireless headphone brands, right? I
Mhm.
downloaded the demographics, and I downloaded the purchasing, the market basket analysis, which basically tells you what other product was purchased at the same time yours was purchased, right? So when somebody goes to check out, what else do they have in their cart? So you start seeing based on that who buys from you. So for example, in the wireless headphone world, you had the person that was purchasing notebooks, and it was purchasing like ramen noodles, and you're like, what is this? And then you're like, oh, this is a student, because now you know that there is a demographic, there is a small subset of your people that are from 18 to 25 that have a lower income level, and you're like, okay, this might be a student, right?
Mhm.
And when you understand those things and you discover who is behind that screen, then you're able to say, okay, now I will create now that I understand the majority of people, or a lot of my demographic is students. Now I can start doing Amazon posts. I can start adding things on my A plus content. I can start adding videos. I can start reaching out to influencers that are exactly that demographic, and
Yeah.
put everything together to, at the end of the day, influence Rufus, right? Because all of the other things that I'm talking about, yeah, will be marketing strategies to build your brand and find growth and all of those things. Amazing, beautiful. But truly, is that you're giving information for your specific demographic, so Rufus can serve that demographic better. So the next time a student goes to Rufus and say like, "Hey, I need some headphones for whatever," some headphones, not even, you don't really need to explain much. You will be matched for that. And I will say like, yeah, these are the headphones that older students, and based on the information in the listing, we know that students love this to go to a library, things like that. But before then, before we had this amazing tool, sellers were not thinking about adding perfect, wireless headset to go to the library and study, because those were not relevant like volume keywords, right?
Mhm.
So that is the massive shift. So this is just an example. Then what you could do with it is, I mean, amazing. On top of everything that Amazon is doing, oh, sorry, AI is doing right now with creative assets, with the most interesting piece, and I believe it's beautiful, and it will dramatically change the way we think about Amazon, is on the advertising side, right? Right now with advertising, you can say, I want to look for the people that are, typing keyword wireless headphones, but I just want to target students. And not only that, I'm just going to target students, but I'm going to target students with this sponsor video or with this sponsor image that is a student in a library with the headphones. And then you're like, oh my God, now that feels personalized. And that's what we call
Mhm.
in the world, the hyper personalization of the shopping experience, because you're going to be able to target and talk to each specific audience. You don't really need to make the whole listing about students. You don't have to. You should no, you shouldn't do it, but you will have different outlets to target that audience. And that ultimately will help Rufus to understand not only what your product is, but also who you serve, who your customer is.
Yeah, I love that because you're working smarter, not harder. Because you're not hiring a data scientist and saying dissect all of this. You're saying AI, tell me what I'm looking at here. Help me paint a picture of my customer, and then you're using that information to target them more effectively in a whole variety of ways. Maybe the types of the words, the imagery, the influencers, and so forth. Then you're really honing in on that persona, and you have multiple personas, and now you like you said with the advertising, I can hone in on, this is the persona I want to target for these types of search terms, and this is the persona I want to target um, for other types of terms. And now it's all comprehensively put together, speaking to a variety of audiences that are really relevant. So I really love that. And when we ask AI questions about things like this, what is this product, and tell me more about who buys this product, or why, or what you think of this product based on the images and the text and so forth. You're essentially asking a AI agent to tell you what it would want, or how it would understand that product when customers, like Rufus customers, are searching, looking for that item. And if it comes back confused, that I got to fix this. Like if it tells
Yeah.
me that this product is designed for, like, okay, a good example. There was a product that said, um, it was like water soluble, and for some reason, AI had thought, oh, this is something you'd want to use in the outdoors because it would be environmentally friendly. And it wasn't meant to be that. So the AI was confused. So
Mm,
we guided the client around using some images that actually paint the picture for AI of not only what it says, but what it should look like. And that was able to really paint a better picture for a more accurate responses of what the AI or Rufus would think about the product. So you can be more effectively found in search results because it's looking at the visual
exactly.
elements, not just the catalog content, right?
Yeah, totally.
So there's so much changing, huh? It's every day it feels like we're learning something new.
Oh yeah, and then if you add on top everything that's changing in the world, logistics, tariff stuff, like it's like never ending. I feel
Ever since,
like well, I
yeah.
mean, I'm glad that will never end. Like
Mhm.
if we just like keep doing one thing forever, then it will be very boring and we'll be out of our minds very soon.
Very, very true. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa. This has been wonderful. Why don't you let the audience know how they can reach you should they want to reach out?
Yeah, perfect. So you can go to my website, onlinesellersolutions.com. There you can have, contact form. You can have email access. If you want to email me directly, it's vanessa@onlinesellersolutions.com. Or better, which I really prefer, is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is my favorite social media at the moment. I spend a lot of time there doing a lot of content every single day about the news, the changes, the SOPs, the tips, like tricks, and sometimes, most of the times, I want to think long-term techniques and strategies for success. So yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
thank you.
Bye bye.